Hi, I'm Helen Adamou, and I'm an event planner. A story that I don't think a lot of people would probably believe, but it is true. It's not made up. It actually is my life. My brother's older than me, and when he was a young boy, I think maybe 3 or 4, but before I was born, he ate broad beans. Now, my family are Greek Cypriot. And when my parents moved to Cyprus, to England from Cyprus all those years ago, I don't think doctors and nurses quite understood other sort of like from the Mediterranean, or something that's a little bit different. They didn't quite understand it. They didn't know about it. So anyhow, my brother basically ate broad beans that my dad had in the garden. Came inside, was really, really ill. And thankfully, my parents knew about in Cyprus that there are people, because funnily enough, my dad's granddad had eaten broad beans and nearly died quite a few years earlier. And anyhow, they took him to the doctors, and the doctor said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with him, just take him back home." And my mum's saying, no, he's really not well. They wouldn't listen. He went back home. He got progressively worse to the point that he almost passed out. He couldn't talk, he couldn't walk, he couldn't do anything. He was dying, basically. And my parents took him to A&E, and the doctor, she said, "I'm telling you, it's my son ate broad beans and that's what's caused it." And they thought my mum had lost the plot. And they didn't believe her, and they kept doing all these other tests, and my brother's just getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that I think his oxygen levels were so critical he almost died. And eventually, I don't know how or where they went to look at it, my mum insisted, and thank God my mum's a strong woman, to be honest with you, because I don't think they would have listened. They could have, I think they probably could have lost my brother. And they went and did some research somehow, found out, came back and said to my mum, "You're absolutely right. He's got all these symptoms. It's something in the Mediterranean." And they gave him, I don't know how much blood. They transfused so much blood, and he pulled through. So bearing in mind, this was before I was born. So, but they didn't do any other things to test or anything like that. Then my mum has me, and she swears, thank God, never to have broad beans in the house again. Even though her and my dad ate them growing up, they went, "Never again are we going to have broad beans in the house." So come 18 for me, quite a few years later, and I had a really nasty rash that was just getting progressively worse across the entire of my body, and I was feeling quite unwell with it. And doctors couldn't get to the bottom of it, couldn't understand what it was. And they said, "There is a drug that we could give you, but apparently something to do with the Mediterranean blood. We need to do a really special test that takes 3 weeks to check if you can take it or not." So 3 weeks later, the consultant calls me back in and he says, "No, we've checked your blood, you're all right, you can have this tablet." I took 3. They were tiny. After the 3rd one, I started to feel rather unwell. I'd lost my colour, I couldn't eat, I was not feeling very well. Well, yet again, my mum, being a strong woman, she said to me, "I don't like the look of your colour, Helen, stop taking those tablets." I said, "Well, Mum, I'm sure." She went, "No, stop taking those tablets." I got worse that night, came home, went to bed, and I was not able to sleep. And my parents finally woke up, because they worked in a fish and chip shop, so they were working until very late. And I didn't want to wake them up. So they eventually came in my bedroom, probably about 6 in the morning, and took one look at me and had a panic. I was drifting in and out of consciousness unbeknown. I knew I wasn't feeling well, but I didn't realise I was that bad. And my mum literally shouted at my dad. They got me in the shower, they got me in the car, took me to A&E, and the insides of my eyes were yellow, my whole skin was yellow, and I was not functioning well at all. They took me one look at me at the nurse, the triage nurse, and rushed me straight in. I don't think that's ever happened before. And they said, "Have you been, looks like you might have yellow fever. Have you been to Africa? Have you been all these different questions. And my mum's saying, my mum again, she brings a bottle of the tablets that I'd been prescribed and said, this is, and they said, does your daughter take drugs? Maybe you don't know about it. She went, no, my daughter doesn't take drugs. It's this tablet. And they're thinking, again, my mum's crazy. But they do, they go off and they take some, again, my oxygen levels were, I think, down to 3. So I was barely alive. And eventually they did blood tests from what these pills my mum was sick. They worked it out that I had a blood deficiency called G6PD deficiency, and it's hereditary. We then worked out that this is what my brother had when he was a child and almost died. And even though it's hereditary, nobody did any blood tests on my parents or me to make sure. Thank God my mum didn't do broad beans, or otherwise it would have happened with me all over again. And so now I wear a medic alert to have, because there is a massive list of drugs that we can't take. And if I'm unconscious, they could give me something that could kill me. And my parents do not have it. My grandparents, but I don't know if you remember me saying at the beginning, my dad's grandfather had it. So it jumped 2 generations, and yet my brother and I, it's bizarre how our parents don't have it, but we both have it. And we literally have to walk around with a massive list of drugs that we can't take. And it's something that's in the Mediterranean, apparently. So when I go to restaurants and they say, do you have any allergies? And I say broad beans, I think they think I'm mad. I think they think she just doesn't like them. And so one day I did go somewhere, and what they didn't tell me was it was pureed in the, and I said, no, I can't have that. And they said, oh no, it's mixed in with other things. I said, no, I can't have that. And they went, oh, it's okay. And I said, it could kill me. And they went, oh, okay, madam. And literally the plate was rushed. And I don't think, I've never heard of it. Obviously I hear of it within the Cypriot community, but, and to this day, when I tell people, doctors that is, not just anybody, that I am G6PD deficient, they look at me like I've got 2 heads. They think, okay, what is that then? So they don't quite understand. So yeah, and the moral of that story is, thank God my mum was on the ball, because if she wasn't, I think she would have lost both my brother and I, had she had not been so adamant with what she believed, that the doctors eventually had to listen to her, and we were both saved. So yeah, a story that we can laugh about now, but at the time, no, not really. So literally what it caused for me was, and obviously it must have been the same for my brother, is that we had jaundice, so it caused anemia. So literally it killed our oxygen levels, and we were just barely surviving. So it's a little bit scary. So hence why I now carry a list that my brother's made a list up, and he's laminated it, and we carry it around with us wherever we go, just to be on the safe side. So yeah, there you go. See, challenge, see if you can ever find anybody that has got that. Thank you.